Hello and welcome to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. I'm Alex.
I'm Julio, and thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, head over to Apple Podcasts to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Help promote the algorithm and spread the word.
You can also find us on SoundCloud to subscribe and review, and don't forget to visit our main website, wearethecontrarians.com.
Follow us on Twitter at Contrarian Prime, and to like us on Facebook, visit facebook.com/Contrarian Prime.
And if you have the willpower to keep up with our pretentious ramblings, you can follow us individually at Contrarian Alex for myself and at Ovnio for Julio. That's OVNIO.
Now, time for the podcast.
Looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I found is too good to be true. Standing here beside you, want so much to give you this love in my heart that I'm feeling for you.
Let 'em say we're crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back at the world around us.
And the Oscar goes to Tom Hooper, The King's Speech.
We can build this dream together, standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And if this world runs out of lovers, we'll still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us.
Okay, and we are recording for Contrarians Corner.
Hello and welcome back to the Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong. Episode number 79, as we continue on our award season story arc. We did just conclude this year's installment of the Academy Awards this past Sunday. I knew very little going in, and I feel like I know even less coming out of it. So,
Well, you know what the best movie of 2018 is.
apparently it's Green Book. The same guy who directed Dumb and Dumber now has... Didn't it also win Best Screenplay?
Best Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor,
And Best Picture.
and Best Picture.
My God. But again, I was kind of unfamiliar with a lot of the nominees and categories, not categories, but nominees and winners is the phrase I'm looking for there. So it's good to be here to take us back to something I do know a little bit about, and that would be the...
Royalty.
Royalty, exactly. The 2011 winner for Best Picture, The King's Speech. Colin Firth and Jeffrey Rush making their quick return. It was a quick turnaround for them back to the Contrarians. And also back to with a fresh film. I don't know how many Colin Firth movies you're going to find with a rotten rating.
You probably have to look hard, but when you find one, I'm sure it's a delight.
You're like, oh, yeah, of course. So here today we are going to find our voice as we discuss the King's Speech. And again, if this is your first time listening to the Contrarians, number one, we do appreciate it. And number two, what we do here is, as we like to say, rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine. So we take a movie that is fresh, make a case for why it could be rotten, and vice versa, being that King's Speech is at a very commanding 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. The first portion of this podcast here will be us making a case for why it's rotten. If you want to know how we really feel, hang around to the second half of that, of the podcast, that is, which is fittingly referred to as Real Talk.
Yeah, that's when we'll talk about how Tom Hooper found his voice. But here,
He found something.
we're just going to argue against that 94%.
Found something he was pining for. So going into this, Julio, what were your memories of the King's Speech?
I saw it in theaters. Did you watch it in theaters?
Yeah, I think this would have been one of those movies that I watched from the projection deck, just like in bits and pieces, and put it together. This is, I think, I'm near positive this was my first time watching the entire way through.
You just like walk away whenever he was going to give a speech, come back.
Didn't want to, yeah. I would leave and then I would come back and everyone was cheering. I'm like, what the fuck did I miss?
Yeah, I watched it before it was an Oscar winner. Much like, I mean, this is more real talk than anything, but just, I guess, kind of like to set the mood. I think that much like with Green Book or Shakespeare in Love, those are movies that I watched before they were acclaimed by the Academy. I just watched them as a regular person.
Like me with Juno.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I took them at face value, and then the Academy names them Best Picture of the Year, and then I am forced to scrutinize them and to take them to task. And now we have a podcast, so I have to even do it even more harshly.
You got to turn it up.
I have the duty now to really take this apart and be like, but is it rotten?
Well, we'll find out.
But let me read you from some people that are all on the fresh train. A few quotes from the Rotten Tomatoes website, started from Sean P. Means from the Salt Lake Tribune, who says, "The King's Speech is the kind of history lesson you wish you had gotten in school, an inspiring private story behind a public person that layers high-minded ideals and occasionally lowbrow humor."
Where was the lowbrow humor?
I think you walked away to let the dog out when he went, fuck, fuckity, fuck, bugger, shit, tits.
Okay. Ha ha ha.
Rated R
Need
for language.
The boisterous American laugh. Ha ha.
Lou Luminick from New York Post says, "The King's Speech is a rare work of art that's also an immense crowd pleaser."
Okay.
Please crowds. Academy crowds. Jonathan Kiefer from Sacramento News and Review says, "Call it a glossy, inspirational inversion of Pygmalion or a sports flick for those who prefer royals to athletes. But there's no denying the universal appeal of director Tom Hooper's tastefully wrapped package."
Jesus.
I just included this one because I love that they talk about Hooper's package.
That's why he was banned from the Oscars, because he rolled up with a tastefully wrapped package.
Bacon wrap package. That's how Hooper rolls.
Jesus.
Finally, Donald Clark from the Irish Times says, "Travel without prejudice and you will enjoy a moving, impeccably acted, and surprisingly funny slice of comfort food. There are worse ways of starting an unpromising looking year." What? So he's talking about what? 2019? No, 2019.
2011?
2016?
2011. 2016.
He was looking ahead.
Oh, okay.
From the re-release
Gotcha.
right before the elections. I don't know. What is he talking about? What was so bad? Is he talking about movie-wise? Is he talking about world-wise?
I guess I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would have been going on in the world at that point. Movie-wise, things were all right. They were a hell of a lot better than they are right now. We'll go through that in the second portion of the podcast, the movies that it was up against that year. But it wasn't slim pickings that year. We had a lot going on. I told you the director category was Hooper, Aronofsky, O. Russell, Fincher, and the Coen brothers. So that year was not bleak by any stretch.
Okay, Donald Clark, if you're listening, first, are you okay? Did you make it through this unpromising year you were referring to?
Well, with the fucking color tones and fucking palettes of this movie, I can heavily understand why he was depressed following it.
I mean, did he realize that World War II was behind us? I don't know, but Mr. Clark, I would like some answers.
He didn't learn about it in school, so he thought Hitler was on the horizon after watching this. Okay, so taking us back to 2010 for the film, even way farther back to the 1930s for the movie at hand, the story here. Colin Firth, our main character.
In a land far, far away.
In a galaxy far, far away. King George VI. So, as I am prone to do on occasion, I'm going to visit our dear good friend Wikipedia here to kind of just give us a summation of what kicks us off here, what's causing all this. At the official closing of the British Empire exhibition at Wembley Stadium, Prince Albert, Duke of York, the second son of King George V, addresses the crowd with a strong stammer. His search for treatment has been discouraging, but his wife Elizabeth, played by Helen Bonham Carter, persuades him to see an Australian-born Lionel Logue, Geoffrey Rush, a non-medically trained Harley Street speech defect therapist. Bertie, as he is called by his family, believes the first session is not going well, but Lionel, who insists that all his patients address him as such, has the potential client recite Hamlet's to be or not to be soliloquy while hearing classical music played on a pair of headphones. Bertie is frustrated at the experiment, but Lionel gives him the recording that was made of the reading as a souvenir. So, obviously, that goes over a lot of the introduction of this movie, but what it does is it leads you to understand what's going on, to who our main three characters are. Would you say that, I mean, we have a real star later in the film, but he's only there for a little bit, so I think this kind of sets the ground for what we're looking at.
Yeah, and really, I don't know, to call Helena Bonham Carter, wonderful as she is, a third co-star here, that doesn't really... Yeah, I think
Hooper
that misrepresents how much she is in the movie. Cause,
Hooper just threw her in there to say that a woman was in his movie.
Yeah, it's just like, what's this, the Bechdel test? Okay, just throw her in.
So Colin Firth is obviously a grown man with a stammer. Julia and I talked about this while we were watching the movie, about knowing people with a stammer and what comes along with that.
All I could think of was Colin Firth.
Yeah, I mean, after this, it's his almost shtick that he approaches his role with is definitely memorable.
He tried to stammer in Shakespeare in Love, but they wouldn't let him.
And his goatee was in the way. He couldn't pull it off.
They told him, goatee or stammer, but can't do both.
So, are we trying to paint Colin Firth as a sad sack here? Because he has a lot of money and comes from royalty. I cannot get a read of how we as the audience are supposed to approach his character.
Well, this is why I find movies about royalty frustrating. I just can't wrap my head around the way British people live. Mm-hmm. And I know we have plenty of British listeners. This is not meant to offend you, but rather to just give you an insight into the mind of somebody who lives in America, who's lived in America for a while now. And it's just so different over here, because this entire movie is about the British Empire kind of like twisting itself around to force people who don't want to be in power. It doesn't matter if they're the best qualified for the job or anything.
It's like a hot potato.
Yeah, it's not even, at some point, Colin Firth goes, I don't even have the power to do anything. Why is it so important that I deliver a speech? I have zero power. The Prime Minister has more power than I do. And yet I'm supposed to be here as a symbol. The entire movie is about him, not wanting to be king. Mm-hmm. Not wanting to do public speaking because of his stammer.
Could have called this movie the I Don't Want to Do It.
I was thinking the guy who didn't want to be king speech. At first he's fine because his brother, played by that star that we're not going to mention yet. Dave, he is in line to be king, but then he also doesn't want to be king. And
I don't think he doesn't want to be. I think he just likes
he has different priorities.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, nobody wants to be
By
king.
the definition of the 30s, he likes the loose women.
Nobody wants to be king in this movie. And one, I guess, as somebody who lives in America,
I wouldn't want to have been in any position of power either when World War II is on the precipice.
Well, that's the other thing, right? It all seems a little silly because you get to the end and you're like, oh, you know what? The world was having real problems. Mm-hmm. And you guys were trying to figure out who was going to sit in the pretty chair. Meanwhile, Hitler was
the title card at the end that says Jeffrey Rush was drafted to World War II. Died on the front line.
Birdie! But again, as somebody who's lived in America for a while now, mm-hmm. I can't even fathom the idea of any sort of member of Congress or a presidential hopeful that would have this sort of problem, the kind of issues that they're having here in court, right?
That's exactly, we have the exact opposite right now. There are too many Democrats that want to be president.
You would think, of course, we're talking about the year 2019, and I would say, well, what does it matter if our president's stammering? Nobody cares, he's just tweeting, right?
Yeah.
But even if let's say Twitter was not available, I'm sure Trump or Clinton or Bush or Obama or whoever, they would just grab somebody to speak for them. And they would be like, yeah, I'm the president who stammers, so of course I'm going to put somebody to speak for me. And America would be like, all right, let's make a few memes about it, but it's not going to crumble the empire. Yet here in this movie, God forbid Colin Firth has a speech impediment, because that will just sink England as we know it.
At the end they act like the hopes of them surviving the war ride on his ability to speak.
I mean, it's so long ago. Just put somebody else to speak for him. They wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's the radio. Like, right. Just have Jeffrey Rush do it.
Have him put in his British accent, switch it up from the Aussie accent, and you got it. I mean, he is kind of a frustrated actor in that movie,
He
so
could just be like the leader from The Simpsons. All you see is his hand come out the window and just hear him on the radio.
yeah, he needed better PR, a better PR agent in this movie. So it's somebody who would be like, what you think is your flaw needs to be turned into an asset. You shall be the king who does not speak.
Yes.
Mystery, baby. That's what people like.
So we did mention that Firth plays King George VI. His father, of course, Big Daddy George V.
Played by not Ian McKellen, as
No.
I thought.
Yeah, Julio thought it was Ian McKellen and a bunch of prosthetics. Michael Gambon.
Dumbledore.
Oh, yeah, I've never seen a Harry Potter movie, so...
I have, and I still thought it was Ian McKellen.
Wait, isn't Dumbledore the one with, like, the hair and the big beard and everything?
Yes, and also he's been played by two actors. Somebody played him in the first two movies, and then he died, and then somebody else played him. I don't remember which one is Michael Gambon.
So he's not Emma Watson.
No.
Okay.
And he is not, I was going to say Wesley.
Alan Rickman?
Ron Weasley.
Oh.
Whatever that guy's name is.
1934, King George sends out a royal Christmas message and essentially is explaining to Colin Firth that the airwaves and the radio is going to be like a huge wave of the future, and this is how you're going to be in touch with everyone, get into the homes of the masses, obviously just compounding pressure and uncomfortableness and tension onto his stammer.
How could anybody not notice that the more you worry him, the more you stress him out, the more he stammers?
Mm-hmm.
I watched the movie for 10 minutes and I already figured that out.
At one point, I think George V, it might have been right here where he's like, "Say it, boy!" Like he just tells him.
That will help.
Yeah, exactly. Standing behind, it's like someone that's stressed out at work. When you just stand right behind their shoulder and watch what they do, that's going to help.
When you're trying to pee for a pee sample, you have the doctor looking over your shoulder.
I've never had that problem. I can just let it rip anytime I need to. So it's like that and sleep. People,
you are the guy making the doctor uncomfortable.
yeah, I'm just.
Could you please look?
I can keep going. Yeah. Where are we here? We're not yet to A Star Is Born. So George VI, stressed out by all this, the impending stress of his life, he kind of goes home and has himself a pity party. I can't remember if he was drinking the pain away, but
He was smoking. He was definitely smoking, which
Yeah.
I was thinking.
which Jeffrey Rush establishes from the bat, like, because the opening scene, we see some quack doctor telling him, you got to smoke to open up the lungs, and you got to talk with marbles in your mouth. And he tries to light up in front of Jeffrey Rush, and he's like, "Nah, none of that shit in my place."
Also, cancer.
Yeah, he calls it too. Because didn't
Do you
King George VI actually die of lung cancer?
Oh, did he?
I
don't
think
know.
so. Yeah.
Your British history knowledge dwarfs mine.
Yes, I know about that. And Big Daddy versus Giant Haystacks. That's my British knowledge.
Also, you watched The Queen, probably.
I own The Iron Lady. It was one of those screeners I was sent that I've never watched. So, anyway,
Dame Streep.
He's having himself a bit of a pity party. So we circle back to the whole point of this is we circle back to what I mentioned in the paragraph, the summation from Wikipedia, talking about the recording he took home from his first counseling session with Lionel. So he puts it on and starts listening to it, and he hears that he can speak perfectly.
It's magic.
And then Ethan Embry's walking by with his radio headset, and it turns it, and he hears it on that. And Steve Zahn's car screeches up in front, and they run in, and they're dancing around his washing machine while his single's on the radio.
Steve Zahn ends up kissing Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes, and they're too occupied to care about it. That's really all I could think of when I was watching that.
I mean, I think that this movie is made in bad faith to begin with. It's if you think about it, almost we didn't plan it, but we've done two best movie Oscar winners that basically make fun of England, right? Shakespeare in Love was all about taking down Shakespeare in a very disrespectful way, and this is about just making fun of royalty and
trivializing it. And really, it's the story of this con man that just got to pal around with Colin Firth, with the king. And it just make him do whatever he wanted as a pretense that it was therapy, right? And so look at the mind games that
Jeffrey Rush plays with Colin Firth. He makes that recording. He knows that in that recording, Colin Firth speaks without stammering. Doesn't tell him. He could easily have played that back to him right away, and they would have saved us 15 minutes of movie at least, right? Because Colin Firth would have been like, okay, I'll start treatment right now. But instead, just to fuck with him, he lets him go, thinking that he's still that was a disaster. He doesn't even tell Helena Bonham Carter, hey, make sure he listens to that when he gets home.
Yeah.
He waits until he has that meeting with his dad and gets humiliated and everything. Why?
And then when he comes back to him, he says, what took you so long? Yeah. So
did you listen to that record?
So he does employ him as his speech therapist, counselor, what have you, whatever word you want to label you want to put on it.
Just not doctor.
No, definitely can't label it that. But then we get like an honest to God montage of them, like of him teaching them all the tricks of the trade of how to say these words, and then interspersed with him using them in real time. He's doing like a speech at a fucking Ford plant somewhere, and these cars are
He's
great.
promising that he's getting those jobs back.
Jesus. Yeah. But yeah, you haven't really lived until you've seen Colin Firth in a montage of him dancing around and flailing his limbs.
But that's what I'm talking about. This is Jeffrey Rush.
It is way out of place. Like,
right.
Tonally, it's not consistent at all.
I guess that's what I was going to say earlier. One, I don't buy it. I don't believe for a second that this happened in real life. I've seen this movie before. It was called Good Will Hunting. It's Jeffrey Rush playing the quirky, no-nonsense doctor, and he has to treat the uptight, prone to anger patient, right? But Colin Firth is no Matt Damon, and Jeffrey Rush, wonderful as he is, he's no Robin Williams.
I was going to say I've seen this before and it's called Fight Club, but then at the end it turned out Jeffrey Rush was real.
Well, the problem here is that the setting also doesn't work, because I can believe that a doctor or a so-called doctor, a therapist, could fuck with his patient this way in America. Even if it was the president, because we're kind of a joke, right? But in England, like, you don't mess with the king. You get beheaded for doing this kind of stuff. He's having Colin Firth roll around the floor and just have Helena Bonham Carter sit on his stomach while he's breathing, and he has him dance and sing.
Jumping ahead, jumping ahead to like the twist at the end, we find out he's not a licensed practitioner or doctor who's ever really treated anybody.
No kidding.
And the best part about it is it only takes Colin Firth's people like 20 minutes to find this out. Like, they find out he's seeing him and then they come back, 15 minutes later. It's like, here's your coffee. By the way, this dude's not like legit. He lied to you.
And all I could think of is,
we asked Bill on the street and he told us.
Yeah. It was, it's a lesson that America learned back in the Sarah Palin days, which is like, you need to veto people. You can't just like put them in the spotlight and then figure out, Colin Firth goes, I vouch for you. And I'm like, wow, look, it's McCain. So really, but it happens here in America too. So you really shouldn't be making fun of England for the fact that happened.
You should be making fun of King George VI for being so daft. In the end, though, I'm surprised they didn't do some, because clearly by this, Tom Hooper doesn't really care about women. So I was curious why there wasn't a scene where Colin Firth blamed Helen Bonham Carter for it. It's like, you told me to go to this. You see what happened?
Alex, that would have required Helen Bonham Carter to have more scenes.
Yes.
In that was not the
Any
objective
dialogue.
here. Yeah.
Other than, oh dear, oh my.
I guess you could have had just Firth looking at the archdeacon and going, women. She found him.
Get over here, lady. In my notes, I have finally a star. Guy Pearce appears. A wild Guy Pearce appears. And man, he was getting paid by the hour here. Not getting paid by the hour, excuse me. As he shows up, he is the fun-loving older brother of Colin Firth. That stammer has aged Firth by at least 15 years over Guy Pearce in this.
Well, Guy Pearce is obviously the fun brother. Mm-hmm. He's the cool guy, so that also helps
he
staying
fucking,
young.
Like, flies himself there. He lands in his little fucking Buddy Holly plane and gets out, and it's like, hey, I'm here. His story, though, is pretty quickly established. He has it in for this American woman who's been divorced, is getting divorced, and the royal family can't acknowledge divorce because the men are still alive.
God forbid that the king marries a twice divorcee. Can you imagine if we held our presidents to that kind of standard?
Well, and also, like, that was the big heartbreak at the end of Shakespeare in Love, and I'm trying to see here. Yeah, Shakespeare in Love was based in the early 1600s, and we're, several centuries later, and it's still...
It's like you haven't learned England.
No.
It doesn't matter. Let love be.
They should have had some shot of, like, Gwyneth Paltrow being like...
Still?
Yeah, or no, yeah, so, trust me, I know. But Guy Pearce is the eldest son, so naturally he's going to inherit the throne because King George V is on his deathbed. But he doesn't really seem to want it. They talk about it, and he's like, yeah, okay. And then his dad eats it, and like we get this horrifying visual of what's homeboy's name? Michael Gambon, just laying in bed after he died. That thing though, where his eyes are like wide open, staring off into nothingness. It's pretty terrifying.
And you're like, please, somebody close those eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It takes forever. It takes more than when Colin Firth is giving a speech and he gets one of those pauses. None of those pauses are as long as this silent shot of Michael Gambon just staring into the distance, dead.
So the news hits Guy Pearce that his father's gone, but he's the king now, and he like breaks down crying, but you can tell he doesn't really care that his dad's dead. He just doesn't want to be king.
He's like, well, the party ended here.
He was singing, "I just can't wait to not be king." What does Guy Pearce do? He takes over. He's dating the divorcee. We have that. During all this, we also get reminded from time to time, because we get, cutaways to Lionel and Bertie in their sessions, and they're kind of becoming friends over time, to the point where Bertie takes him in as kind of a confidant and starts explaining to him the issues with Dave and why he thinks it's not going to work out. And then Lionel suggests, you'd be fit to be king. And then Bertie just gets mad at him for like having the temerity to make this notion.
That's treason.
Yeah, that's right. He tells him he's treasonous.
Jesus, like, that is treason?
I'm bummed he didn't just like slap him, and then Jeffrey Rush would just be like, fuck you. I mean, this movie, all it was missing was a Jeffrey Rush Colin Firth fight to just take it over the top into
just
like
rolling in the mud.
Benny Hill slapstick comedy.
They do have a couple musical numbers though, which is, truncated, but still, because one of the therapy techniques is to have him sing stuff when he's stammering, because I guess when he sings he doesn't stammer, and so he's in the middle of recounting a horrible story from his childhood about his nanny not feeding him, but he can't keep going, and so Rush goes like, just sing it.
Yeah.
And Firth goes, she didn't fit me. It's like, Jesus.
And it was at this moment that Tom Hooper was planting the seeds for his Les Mis.
Yes. Like, who needs what do you call it?
Russell
Playback.
Crowe?
No. Yeah. Who needs playback?
Yeah, so we get several montages of Colin Firth singing in the shower, going over his grocery list, singing "My Baby Takes the Morning Train." You name it, it's in there. King George dies. Dave takes over. Dave doesn't last long, which sadly for me, this is where the movie kind of tapers off, because Guy Pearce, as quick as he entered our hearts in this one, as quick as he is gone.
He never changed clothes.
But again, with a charismatic whirlwind like him, he's smart enough to know his worth, and his worth is not overstaying his welcome.
He's like Christopher Walken or Al Pacino in Gilly. Goes in, wakes everybody up, leaves.
Yeah.
It's like, I did what I could, guys. It's
right
on you
when
now.
you're back into it, and you're like, hey, okay, this movie's getting some traction, and Guy Pearce leaves, you're like, fuck. And
later Bonham Carter's like, guys, can I maybe?
Tom, no. Back in catering. And because of this, Bertie takes over. He has severed his ties with Lionel, so he has to address the Accession Council on his own, and they don't even show the whole thing because it's so fucking painful. He just goes in there and starts to talk, and he can't get, word A, B, or C out, and it's clear he needs Lionel. What should have happened here...
Or it's clear that whatever he did with Lionel didn't really work.
Or is Lionel real? This is again my Fight Club theory. Watching this again, but anyway, he should have just run out in the streets and been like Lionel, and then "Fix You" by Coldplay would start playing. And
Then Helena Bonham Carter, who's also in Fight Club, by the way, tries to talk some sense into him, and then Colin Firth goes, "This conversation," and then Jeffrey Rush goes, "It's over." Mind blown.
and Tom Hooper was upset because they weren't mean enough to Helena Bonham Carter. Bertie is now King George VI, makes up with Lionel. This is a pretty quick transition here. Makes up with Lionel. He's helping him get ready for his speech. They are at Westminster Abbey, where he's going to make an address, and the Archbishop of Canterbury is just your standard. Like he would have played the actor who played him. I don't know his name, but would have.
He's a known actor, though. He's like one of those old British guys that you just see him and I'm like,
Yeah,
you're not the guy who played the droid in the first Alien movie, but close enough.
Excuse me, yeah, Derek Jacobi.
Yeah.
We were talking about him in the credits. But anyway, his aesthetic here and his wardrobe is he would be like the butler from any made-for-TV Disney movie in the 90s. And he is wrinkled, both literally and figuratively, by the notion that this Lionel guy is coming in. Because then Lionel fucking like... he's dating the lead singer of the band, so he starts making all these demands for what he needs. And then again, like we said, it's about 5 minutes later that the Archbishop comes back. He's like,
I Googled you.
yeah. It's like, so I looked up your business card and your business number. It was shut off. And he just tells him, he's like, yeah.
Dr. Lionel Logue has been dead for 50 years.
Yeah, yes. King George, who are you talking to? So Colin Firth gets mad for like 30 seconds, and then they're just friends again, though.
He gets mad. Once again, he doesn't stammer when he gets mad.
But like what they say defeats the whole argument. It's like all he's ever done is helped shell-shocked war veterans help improve their speech patterns, and it's like that's almost literally what
But he's
Colin
not
Firth.
a doctor.
Damn
Listen.
you. We only accept the finest help here.
The king cannot date twice divorcee, and the king cannot be treated by somebody who's not a real doctor.
No matter what the results are. But they fight for a minute, and then through this conflict and through this feuding and a fussing, Colin Firth, King George VI, Bertie, is able to start exclaiming and form full sentences and speak without any interruption or hesitation. The fluidity is there. To the point where he does make sure to deliver the tagline, which was on all the T-shirts and ball caps. I have a voice.
Beautiful. But,
You
it's
can
like
hear Tom Hooper crying.
The thing is, you had it all along. I can't believe that the movie took, an hour 45 minutes to get to this point, because I could have treated him.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just been like, first session, you know what? You don't want to be king. How about you just relax? Now, let's try getting angry about something. Did you notice you didn't stammer? All right, you're cured. Next.
Yeah. Again, Jeffrey Rush he realizes this is his new meal ticket, and he's going to bleed this for all it's
he
worth.
milked it real good.
Which I did skip over before they went to Westminster Abbey.
His wife.
When they make up the first time, yeah. Colin Firth and Helena Bonham Carter go to Jeffrey Rush's flat, or it's not a luxurious living, so again, you understand why he's leeching onto the teat of the royal family here. And he hadn't told his wife that he was helping out the fucking king.
He was stashing away those far things. Or
Jennifer
whatever.
L. Yeah. And at first I was like, why the fuck wouldn't you just tell her? And then like now that we're talking about it, it's become apparent he was trying to get out of that life.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck, now she knows. Now I gotta give her shit.
Yeah, that was literally, that's the only scene where two women speak to each other, which is when Jennifer L. comes home and she finds Helena Bonham
It's
Carter.
one woman demeaning the other one.
Yes. You shall call me your majesty. You shall not look me in the eye.
Yeah.
But at the same time, seeing that in contrast with the sausage fest we've been watching for an hour and a half, I felt it was a missed opportunity. I wanted a movie if not a movie that's entirely about these two women, at least a movie that treated them equally. The entire thing, Jeffrey Rush has the balls to keep telling Colin Firth, we are equals here.
Yeah.
He forgot to add, because we're men. Helena Bonham Carter is just waiting in the lobby the entire time.
In the original cut, Jennifer L. and Helena Bonham Carter get into a fight and pull each other's hair, and like a vat of water falls on him while Pour Some Sugar on Me starts playing in the background.
That's the MTV cut.
Yeah, Tom Hooper was very insistent that scene stay in. I was just thinking of this. Why was Orlando Bloom not in this movie? I mean, that may be a discussion for a different day, but I could think of at least 7 roles he could have played.
As Colin Firth?
No, not the lead, but like, why wasn't he one of the little stagehands at the final speech?
Could have been the director that's doing the audition.
Too busy doing fucking Three Musketeers.
When Jeffrey Rush, early on, we see he's a frustrated actor, and he said at an audition, and there's a pretentious director that goes, we want somebody younger.
Yes.
That could have been Orlando Bloom. Throw him a bone.
R.I.P.
He's back, man. Do you remember? We might have mentioned it in the podcast that he was doing an off-Broadway production of Killer Joe.
Yeah, which is exciting. I would like to see that.
Can't kill the bloom.
So the bloom is not off the rose. It's back on, in fact. Coming this fall. Anyway, wrapping this up. Birdie needs to make a live speech across the airwaves, as it is now time for Britain to declare war on Nazi Germany in 1939. Because if you didn't know, Germany was kind of picking up some steam. They had some momentum rolling their way.
Yeah, well, they were worrying about who Guy Pearce was dating.
Yes.
Turns out that Nazism, it was becoming a thing.
Yeah, it's like, he can't marry this woman. By the way, this Hitler guy, not that big of a deal. May want to talk about it at the next meeting.
Look at how funny he is when he talks.
Oh, God.
And Colin Firth's like, well, he's not stammering.
No. Yeah, he says that. He's like, what is he saying? I don't know, but he's not stammering. So anyway, Birdie needs to make this declaration of war across the airwaves. He gets with Lionel. They do the warm-up. He's hitting the bags, doing the shadow boxing, and they go in and...
Waxing in, waxing out.
Yes. All the other dignitaries are there from the British Empire. Prime Minister, apparently, according to Wikipedia, Winston Churchill is there, but...
Yeah, Timothy Spall.
Okay.
That needs to be addressed. Timothy Spall, I generally like him in movies, but he's no Churchill. Especially now that we've had a movie that was all about Churchill.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why I blanked on that. I know exactly.
He has the cigar.
Yeah.
He's talking like a
speech
cartoon.
and put him in myself. Yeah.
He's the only guy there that's a cartoon. I almost expect them to be just animated.
Yeah.
And instead they put Timothy Spall there. And the thing is, we just saw, what's his name, win the Oscar for playing Churchill as a real person.
What's his name? Gary Oldman?
Gary Oldman.
God. Come on now.
I got Timothy Spall in my head. I can't think of any other Churchills.
James Gordon. So he goes through the speech. We get this. It just fucking goes on and on. He's in this broadcasting room.
Dude, it's like, really, Hooper, did you need to play the entire speech? We get it.
He was nude while directing this. Because you have Jeffrey Rush literally conducting him. They're showing him like in slow-mo as you learn to conduct in elementary school, making the half circles and shit.
There's a beauty to the art of filmmaking, which allows you to cut stuff out. It's not real life. You don't have to just watch everything that happens. Through the magic of editing, you can actually show us the beginning, fade into the middle, and then fade again towards the end. And then when everybody claps, we get it. It went well.
The cutting room floor is Tom Hooper's final cut. Like that's been apparent for nearly a decade now.
He very proudly takes a picture of the cutting room floor and all of his edits.
It's just like
spotless.
pristinely clean. Bling!
It's a picture of just him eating off the floor.
Oh, Jesus. So it concludes the speech. It goes really well. If I did want to compliment this scene, I would say the score builds to a really awesome crescendo here.
It almost makes you forget that World War II was starting.
It almost makes you forget that the scene started 30 minutes ago. And he concludes, Logue, says, you're still having troubles with your W's, to which Colin Firth retorts, well, I had to throw some in so they know it's me.
But Rush clearly wanting to just make sure that he's not being dismissed yet. There's still some treatment to keep him occupied for
mentally
years.
abusive boyfriend that, even if you do perfect, you have to say something.
You could lose some weight.
Yeah, exactly. You gonna wear that shirt? You gonna wear that suit when you make this speech? Why the movie didn't end there, I don't know. There's like another 4 minutes where they just like follow Colin Firth to his office. They take a picture, and then they step out onto the balcony to address like the masses.
They trying to make sure that we knew that everything was gonna be okay. I mean, except for all the people that died in the following years.
I don't understand why they didn't. The title card also did not include any of the results of World War II.
No.
So if you were fairly new to that whole subject, I can just imagine someone in like fucking Paducah, Kentucky coming out of the movie theater like, what happened with the war? Did we win?
That guy Hitler, is he still around?
What happened with that?
And Tom Hooper would be like, listen, it's not called the King's Speech before World War II. It's just a King's Speech.
And then we're told, we fade to black at the title cards about what happened. Directed by Tom Hooper. Then we get a few credits for producers, and then a Tom Hooper film.
Hey, he earned it.
Which, I know I've been informed that that's a common thing. But when you're as douchey as Tom Hooper, it sticks out way more.
He's probably a wonderful guy, just following the guidelines set by the Directors Guild of America or whoever decides how the credits go.
Like, we talk about the things that would cause, like, the apocalypse or cause the universe to rip in half. I'm thinking of, like, a Tom Hooper / Nicholas Winding Refn film that they make together. Because the first 45 minutes would just be, like, the signature screens and introductions of the directors.
I'm sure Hooper is the opposite. He just wanted to make it... Can it be a film by everyone? Because, guys, we pulled it together.
A film by every man. Oh, Jesus. And then it's over. And then Colin Firth won an Oscar, and Tom Hooper, much to his enjoyment, creaming in his pants when he won his Best Director Oscar.
Also has that sinister now and forever Weinstein Brothers title card.
Ooh.
Credits at the end.
I watched one of my favorite movies ever last night, and the spine on the DVD is the Weinstein Company logo, and I was like, eee. But...
eventually, they'll reissue stuff to where the Weinstein logo is just tiny.
Even that, or like they'll just put a sticker over the credit. And it's just, hey, Colin Firth,
that guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm ready for some real talk.
Let's move it along to real talk.
What is it about David that stops you speaking?
What is it about you that bloody well makes you want to go on about him the whole bloody time?
Vulgar but fluent. You don't stammer when you swear.
No, bugger off.
Is that the best you can do?
Well, bloody bugger to you, you beastly bastard.
Oh, a public school prig could do better than that.
Shit. Shit, 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 shit. Shit, 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 shit.
Yes.
Shit.
Defecation flows trippingly from the tongue.
Because I'm angry.
Do you know the F word?
Fornication.
Oh, Bertie.
Fuck. 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 Fucking fuck. Fuck. Fucking bugger. 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 Buggity. 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 Fuck. Fuck. Arse.
Yes.
Balls. Balls. Fucking
You see,
shit.
not a
shit,
hesitation.
Fucking willy. Willy. Shit and fuck and tits.
Dad? What's going on?
Sorry.
Just finish your homework. Well, that's a side of you we don't get to see all that often.
No. No, we're not supposed to, really. Not publicly.
All right, and we are recording for Real Talk.
All right. The King's Speech. Let me get adjusted here to talk about this one. Released on, or premiered at the Telluride Film Festival on September 6, 2010. It had a budget of $15 million with a ridiculous box office return of over $400 million. Of course, as we mentioned, directed by Tom Hooper, written by David Seidler, and starring all the people we mentioned earlier. There is a woman in there.
Two,
And-
really.
yeah.
You have Jennifer Ellie.
And I mean, really, Helena Bonham Carter was just there for a name to be put on it. Now, to be fair, that was jesting in the first portion. I understand one time period. It's not like it was a female-dominated scene back then, and two, the movie's about Colin Firth and Jeffrey Rush. So, but on top of that, or to go back, I like Helena Bonham Carter's literally just there for like name value to be slapped on it.
She has like a couple scenes maybe
She's
where...
not bad.
Oh no, she's great. She's great. And she gets her couple of Oscar moments. Did she get nominated?
Let's see.
Because she has that scene when she tells him...
She
she's-
did. Good
Yeah.
God.
Well, she has, and I'm sure her clip was that moment when she's telling him that she refused his first 3 proposals because she didn't want to be part of royalty.
That is a really good scene too.
Yeah, she's great in
Yeah.
it.
He's
So
like breaking down crying, not thinking he's worthy of being king.
yeah, we could have used more Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes, I agree. And she did not win. That's because Melissa Leo went the Shakespeare in Love route and politicked the fuck out of that year.
Just plastered every graffiti
Dude,
wall in Hollywood with posters.
personalized autographs to every screener that was sent out, along with a bottle of Cavassier.
That's the American can-do attitude.
So, I mean, it's fitting and appropriately timed with, I haven't seen Green Book, so I'm not going to comment on it, but I do know, I don't think I saw anything nominated for Best Picture. I'm way out of the loop that way. But my point is, I think the movie that won was this year. There was other movies that people thought could have been in place of that. Now, based on what you've explained about Green Book and what I've read and my understanding of how movies like that typically work, I think I'm inclined to agree with you that it was a safe pick.
Right.
I wouldn't call The King's Speech a safe pick. I think it just plays on everything that the Academy gets their rocks off to.
Okay, but it is a safe pick then.
I guess.
I mean, well, let's
I
set
guess
up
the point is
what's
I
the
don't-
competition? I think that's the thing.
We'll go through it. So 127 hours, Black Swan, the Fighter. King's Speech is better than the Fighter. Inception. Was this the year me and Reed were talking about this? Was this the year they put Nolan next to the kitchen? Like he was like his seat was in the back to the point like the kitchen door would bang his chair every time it opened. I think it was one of the years that he was just clearly not going to win for anything. The Kids Are All Right, The Social Network, Toy Story 3, True Grit, and Winter's Bone. Now, Julio and I will both agree, I'm pretty sure, I don't mean to speak for you, but Social Network is the best film out of that lineup.
I think most people in our circle would say that that's not up for discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, I think The King's Speech is probably a more worthy winner than True Grit and Winter's Bone, at least. I like True Grit. I've only seen Winter's Bone once, and I was kind of bored by it, but I'm actually looking forward to revisiting it. And yeah, I definitely like it better than The Fighter. But do you want to talk about safe picks? I mean, maybe True Grit is the only movie in that lineup that's safer, or at least as safe. Everything else is a little more maverick, whether it works or not. I mean, I don't think The Fighter really works.
No.
But it's definitely taking more chances.
Yeah, I guess my point is in comparison to Green Book and my knowledge of it, I think King's Speech is not one of the, it's not Crash, it's not Green Book, it's not The Artist in terms of like, of course, to me at least.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's hard to like really make an argument because you haven't seen the movie, so I really don't want to, and I don't want to spoil it for you because.
So then I'll use Crash and The Artist. It doesn't perturb me as much as like those.
Yes. Well, I think that every time that the Academy disappoints us, and by us I mean like the people that watch a lot of movies.
The Contrarians.
Yeah, not even the Contrarians, but because in a way it's the same thing as in when we're talking about Shakespeare in Love, right? There's always generally there's a sense that the Academy doesn't pick the right movie. It picks, I wouldn't even say, I mean, yes, the safe movie is a good definition, but also maybe the most crowd-pleasing movie out of their 5. It doesn't have to be the popular vote, but it is the movie that everybody can be okay with saying, yeah, I love that one, right? So in that sense, they have that thing in common, even though the reason why it may infuriate you if you're somebody that watches a lot of movies, the reasons why they make you angry are different. So the artist probably makes you angry because you're like, well, it's just a gimmick, right? And there's not much to that. Whereas like Crash makes you angry because, it's pretentious or whatever. I remember, I've only seen it once, but I remember liking Crash well enough to where I did not share the outrage, but I don't even remember what was nominated that year. Brokeback Mountain, was it?
That was one that
was their thing. I did not go gaga for Brokeback Mountain, so I was not. I didn't care. In this year with Green Book, again, I don't want to say too much because we've talked about maybe doing an episode on that, but it's just like, yes, it's not as good as the other stuff that was out there, but I completely understand why most people watch it and they're perfectly fine with that being named the best movie of the year. Maybe it's the most accessible, I think that Black Klansman is a better movie, but I also understand why that's not as accessible to most people. And it doesn't mean that those people are racist. It just means that it's just a harder movie to watch.
Dude, well, and you still have to, the Academy is still predominantly old white dudes.
Right. We're kind of going off topic, but not really, because we're talking about Best Picture winner.
I was about to take us more off topic. So.
Well, no, but because I was listening to a podcast. It was actually the Boozy Movies girls that were just talking about the Oscars, and they were just flabbergasted by some of the picks, and they were like, "Can somebody explain why?" What goes through your head when you vote for this? And I understand that from where we sit, and I'm trying to not sound pretentious, but when I say we, I'm talking about somebody who watches just a lot of movies, right? So we're exposed to a lot more challenging storytelling. Therefore, it's easy for us to say, well, this was safe, this was not worthy, right? So to us, it's just, how could you pick this over this? How you pick this that's so safe over something that's more challenging, more exciting? But yeah, you look at at what makes up the bulk of the Academy, and these are people that, in a way, they're traditionalists.
To them, like Casablanca is still the way a movie should be.
Right, and good for them. I mean, it is a great movie, but there's new stuff out there. And have you ever read those? They've been going for a few years now, the Brutally Honest ballots. I don't remember which website puts them out, but they basically anonymously, they'll grab people from different guilds, different members of the Academy, and they'll have them walk you through their ballot. And they'll be, just because they're anonymous, they can just be brutally honest about why they're picking what they're picking. And what you find out is sometimes they pick a certain movie because they haven't watched the others. Sometimes they pick a certain candidate because they're friends with them, or because, their buddy made it. Sometimes they take you through their thought process, and it's kind of backwards and kind of, 2 generations ago. But that's because these are really old people. There was somebody who was saying, I'm not going to vote for this short film because it's about periods, and, nobody wants to reward a movie that's about menstruation. And of course, that short won.
Yeah.
So the world changes slowly, but slowly. So in a way, I don't know. I think that when this happens, it kind of makes me laugh when people are just surprised that the movie that's the most out there, that's the most challenging, doesn't win, because that's usually the case.
That's a large part of my maturation process, is like someone who's a fan of this stuff. I watched last night, the movie I was referencing was The Master, and like I was kind of watching that and thinking about this, and because I always jokingly bring up the non-Oscar nominated. Of course, that movie was never going to be nominated for Best Picture. Like, how fucking weird and out there certain parts of it are, and the whole tone of it and everything. I mean, they did pay due diligence to Joaquin, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Amy Adams. They all got nominated for it.
But that's as far as we're gonna go.
Exactly. No, like PT, stay back. We're not going any further than this. And then when you look at the lineup against this, I mean, Black Swan, like, that's an amazing movie, but when you look through the guys, the guys of like these people that watch these, that again, like, they're old timey film people. Inception, I'm sure, like, that's the type of thing I'm sure like a lot of the people that ballots out here didn't even bother with it. Like, I'm not going to watch this 3-hour action movie. And The Social Network is, this is burned into my brain because he said it so many times, but I remember the Brandon Curtis, the quote he always said was cold and clinical and like sad, and like a very dry and brutal take, which is true. That is a definitive example of like a movie for a new generation.
Right. And the thing is, when those movies work for you, you just can't see things the same way. And so when those movies work for you, you get bitter towards movies like The King's Speech, which is a fine movie. It
is.
But it's not The Social Network.
No.
Just like Shakespeare in Love is not Saving Private Ryan.
Correct.
It's just one of those things where like, well, it just, and well, I know Shakespeare in Love has a lot to do with politics. It's not even what the Academy was comfortable with, but also just the machine.
They're similar in the King's Speech.
Right,
and
this is
Shakespeare in Love.
Weinstein.
Like, well, yeah, they got that stain on it, but like, they're not bad movies. They're just not as good to me and people I associate with as the movies that they went up against. Much like I'm sure when I do watch Green Book, I was going to say Greenberg, remember that one? When I do watch Green Book and everything else from this year, you know, it just pains me every year when the Oscars come around that I remember that Drive, only nomination it got, it lost to Transformers. That's like the one thing I'm fixated on. But I was reminded this year when they talk about original song that Man or Muppet won for best original song of the year. It was up.
It's every now and then you get some good surprises. Spider-Verse won this year, and I know you haven't seen it, but it's the fact that Spider-Verse won against a Pixar movie that is just a fine movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Incredibles 2, I was not crazy about. And then a sequel to a popular movie like Ralph Breaks the Internet. You know, it's something. Every now and then, there's just little pockets where the innovation just pulls through.
And, I mean, these things do pay off every once in a while. Like the Oscars, again, it is just this certain body saying, we acknowledge this. But like this year, and again, I haven't seen Black Klansman, but Spike Lee getting to have his moment, that was really cool.
That was great.
And like Samuel L. Jackson marking out for like, oh, my man. I thought that was great.
Yeah. The King's Speech, I think, if anything, and definitely in our little Contrarians world, in the Contrarians universe of inside jokes and running jokes, one of the reasons it's infamous among us is just because there's that clip of Tom Hooper when he wins the Oscar.
I was trying to think of how we could get that clip into the podcast, like, and convey. We may just have to use the screen cap of his face as the thumbnail for it. Yes. If you don't know what we're talking about, the clip's on YouTube.
And you know what? I'll preface this by saying, if I ever won an Oscar, who knows how the fuck I would react. I could very well do much worse.
Yes. It's just, I don't know. I think because you see that those people handle those things so differently. Going back to The Master, when they showed Joaquin's clip and it just cut to him looking down at the ground, shaking his head. He's like, I don't want to be here. Tom Hooper, the clip we're talking about when he was called for Best Director, he has this look on his face like he's never wanted anything more in his entire life. And again, like you said, that could be me in that situation too. But he just comes off as a dick. Like, he just comes
maybe
off
not, because now that I've seen Tom Hooper,
Yeah.
that would be the only thing in my mind. It's like, don't look like a dick. Be gracious. Because, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, it's just, yes, you won, but that means that 4 people lost.
Yeah.
And just out of respect for them, don't do the fist pump.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, God.
So Hooper, Best Director; King's Speech, Best Picture; Colin Firth, Best Actor; Best Screenplay, Best Original Screenplay, excuse me. And it looks like that is it. But
So Jeffrey Rush was nominated but didn't win?
correct. Christian Bale won for The Fighter, which, again, The Fighter is a wildly mediocre movie, but Christian Bale is very good in it.
He put in the work.
Oh, God, yeah.
Colin Firth is great here.
He is. Everything about this movie is like, if it hadn't been this Oscar darling, no one would fucking talk about this movie today. That's the thing of it. It's just there. It happens. It's
Well, I mean, they
fine.
would talk about it in the way that they talk about other not nominated movies that happen to be good. I think that you would talk about Colin Firth, that Colin Firth vehicle, like you talk about, I don't know, I was going to say A Single Man, but I think he got nominated for that, right? I don't know. He's good in other movies, they're just other good movies in his filmography.
Yeah, and he's good here. I read something about, this wasn't something I read in my research for this, but I remember listening to something that he really fucked up his speech when he learned to like get a stammer, and he like couldn't shake it for a little while, so he had to like actually like go to speech therapy for it.
He turned to Jeffrey Rush, and Rush was like, huh?
And Rush said, I'm done. My contract's up. That could be complete bullshit, but I remember reading that. The only really thing of trivia I found that was fascinating was, again, the Weinsteins interjecting their political ways.
Oh, shit, we didn't even read the quotes. We got so caught up on
we did. So while you're pulling those up, the MPAA gave the film an R rating due entirely to the scenes where Birdie curses as part of his speech therapy or preparation for the climactic address. Bob Weinstein and Harvey Weinstein appealed but were denied. They later submitted a cut without some of the profanity and got a PG-13 rating. However, the R-rated version is considered to be the Oscar-winning one, extending a string of R-rated Best Pictures from 2005 to 2010.
I remember that. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When it was re-released?
Yeah, and this was around, was it the next year that Lincoln came out? I remember there was a little stretch there where I was getting really fucking just nerd angry with the MPAA. Like, that it's all bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching the movie and these people watch the movie before they submit the rating, it's not real cursing.
No.
He doesn't even use hardcore cursing in those scenes. He says a few fucks.
I'm more talking about bullshit of like the political aspect of it. Like Lincoln, I remember got a PG-13 rating, and they say fuck, and there's like disembowelment of people in that and shit. But the MPAA, I remember their thing was, well, there's historical context to it and shit like that. It just makes me upset sometimes when I see R-rated movies that shouldn't be rated R, because my immediate thought is this movie could have made more money if it wasn't rated R.
Yeah, but I think the argument with the King's Speech was, at least from what I remember, that
Tom Hooper just came in and, hey!
Well, no, there were schools that were they couldn't take their students to field trips to watch it because it was rated R. And so there was that pressure, or at least that argument to be made, and I'm sure that there was a similar concern with Lincoln and any other historical movie that's considered worthy, which makes sense to me. But, I mean, I have issues with the MPAA rating the way that they rate stuff forever. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make broad generalizations, but maybe there's not enough people that have that sort of liberal leaning when it comes to rating stuff that really care to volunteer for the MPAA or to work for the MPAA. So who volunteers for the MPAA, who works for MPAA is going to determine how the rating comes out. And if it's a lot of people that are just offended by a character saying fuck regardless of the context, then you're gonna get an R rating.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that seems to be, at least during the time when I was just consistently going to movies, that across the board, it's all the same. Fuck means the same thing no matter the context or anything like that. So
what I'm saying is, please, more intelligent people run for office.
Yes. Please. Yeah, so being that it's 94%, we usually don't wait this far into real talk to go to the quotes, but that means there's some people that posted some green splotches and didn't like it.
Yes, I just have a few here. Sarah Manville from the Critic's Notebook says, when you're telling a story about people as well documented as the English royals, it's difficult to achieve a fresh outlook. And unfortunately, Mr. Hooper and screenwriter David Sadler don't quite succeed. Tell that to the Academy Awards.
Yeah, Tom Hooper sleeping nude with his Oscar, huh?
Charles Moditi from The Stranger, Seattle, Washington, says the film is not even interesting as a work of art.
Damn, blunt.
Yeah, that is brutal. Finally, Ty Burr from the Boston Globe says, complacent Middleborough tosh engineer for maximum awards bling and catering to nostalgia for the royalty we've never actually had to live with.
Okay.
All right. How do the British feel about the King's Speech?
Man, Jeffrey Rush was fantastic in this.
Yeah, I think they were both great. Their scenes when they're together, when they're either doing therapy or just broing up and sharing, best part of the movie. And
I hate to be a broken record because I know that's kind of the thing I'm saddled with when I think about movies that are longer than 90 minutes, but this could have been sharpened up. It tightened up.
It does go on. There's this fake ending. Right, because I should have known it was coming. Like I said, I've only seen it once before. It's called the King's Speech, and so they have to get to that speech, the World War II speech. But I thought that it was over when he becomes king, right? And they're at the inauguration cathedral or whatever, and he gets through the 4 questions that they were going to ask
I
him.
have a voice.
Yeah. After that, you're like, all right, it's done. But then they brought up Hitler, and then I'm like, oh no, we're in for another 15, 20 minutes.
Here we go again. Again.
Yeah, that might be one of those. Maybe it's more of a structure issue that you faked me out with that ending, and maybe you shouldn't have. But it's also, well, it's dealing with real events, and they have to stick to the way history happened, at least somewhat. I don't know.
Yeah.
We could ask Tom Hooper next time he's around, and we're like, why? Why would you do that to us?
When we have him back on the podcast, we can ask him. Yeah, I mean, again, we kind of burned through our real feelings about it because it's not. To me, there's really not too much of a discourse to this.
But it's so. What's
very
the
simple movie?
What's the legacy of The King's Speech? It's the movie that beat The Social Network, right? Much like Shakespeare in Love is the movie that beat Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, difference being, I don't find The King's Speech's victory is to be anywhere near as like mean-spirited or tainted. I think it's just like The Artist. Bunch of old white dudes watched that and enjoyed that more than the movie about the kid who made the thing on the internet. So,
this gives you somebody to root for. That's somebody very likable. It's very. See, this is one of the reasons why I'm having trouble being harsh on it. It's just because I know a lot of people like it. I own the Blu-ray because my wife likes it. Mm-hmm. She brought it into our collection, and I like the movie, but you can't avoid the fact that, well, it's not that challenging. Mm-hmm. You know, I keep just saying that, and yeah, you have very easy, protagonist to follow and to root for, and a very clear goal. Oh, well, he needs to give this speech, and then when the speech is done, you're like, hooray, I feel good, and the movie's good, and that was a good time.
Its title's not misleading.
Yeah, and then something like The Social Network, you're like, but this guy's an asshole, and that guy's also kind of dumb, and this is based on real life, and why is he refreshing the end, the page at the end? What does that all mean?
Oh God, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Quick sidebar. This was I can't believe it took me this long to remember this. The 2011 Oscars was unprecedented for many reasons, the least of which is not that it made the 2010 remake of The Wolfman an Academy Award-winning film, as they won for Best Makeup. For those of you who have not seen the Benicio del Toro vehicle, The Wolfman, heavy recommendation.
Anthony Hopkins is in it, right?
Oh, he's the bad guy.
He plays the old wolf.
He does. Who's the woman, the love interest? Oh, it's Emily Blunt. Fuck me dead. And Agent Smith is the hunter. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. And Inception won 4 Oscars. None of them would have been the televised ones. Yes, to your point, yeah, it's easier to digest, and I mean, it can't be understated how far Colin Firth's likability carries this. If you had some cockbag in that role, and also like his chemistry with Jeffrey Rush is fantastic, so there are really good elements to this. It's not a movie that I could like see myself ragging on the actual movie itself, and
it's a good time. Oh, you were kind of bored while we were watching it, but I thought it was fine. Even when you're not following the main plot line, which is his stammering, the royalty politics of what was going on, I found kind of fascinating, and partly because of what I said in Contrarians Corner, which is the culture is so different from American culture. The fact that these things determine who's in power, and to what degree is that power worth it, or the fact that the king being a symbol is just as important as whoever actually is wielding power and making decisions. It just, the entire thing was cool, and just the subplot with Guy Pearce basically not being fit to rule. Mm-hmm. That whole thing, I liked that whole aspect of it, that Colin Firth is really kind of rejecting being king for a long time, and then he has to learn to embrace it. There's more to it than just Jeffrey Rush and Colin Firth being awesome as actors. I think that there's some meat to the story.
Yeah. And I was bored in the sense of, this is a long meandering film, and it was Wednesday evening. It's one of those things, like, if I watch this on like a Saturday afternoon, it'd be a lot different temperament. So I was just bored in the sense of, like, this isn't a Wednesday night movie. With that being said, I legit did straighten up my posture and get perked up when I saw Guy Pearce come on screen. I was like, here we go. Strap yourselves in. So, this is, for what it is, the B+. My only real critique of it would be that it does drag at certain parts. And yeah, the ending feels too stretched out. You could probably shave like 10 minutes off of it.
I could use more Helena Bonham Carter for sure.
Or, yeah, let me rephrase that. Or use more of that for her character. Like some of those scenes that just kind of drag on. Make some time for Helena Bonham Carter to do something.
I mean, if we need to see him doing therapy, maybe not all of it can be with Geoffrey Rush. Maybe at some point he mentioned that he's been practicing at home. So let's just see him practicing with Helena Bonham Carter and just get her more. She makes things lively when she's in the movie.
So what's Tom Hooper's next project? You were teasing me with it a little bit.
Oh, he's doing Cats.
Oh.
So he's tackling another Broadway musical.
Oh, boy. Oh, God. Taylor Swift, Idris Elba, Rebel Wilson.
Oh, God.
Ian McKellen.
This is going to be great. One way or the other.
My God. Jennifer Hudson. Yeah, I don't know about all this. Oh, it's a Christmas movie, too.
Love it.
He's bringing back to Les Mis. That was a Christmas movie, right?
I think so, yeah.
That's not a good movie.
It has some amazing sequences, but yeah, I would agree. It's not a good movie, but I don't know if my problem is with the play itself or if it's just a bad adaptation. But I just feel that there's some story problems, some structure problems that might be just, well, there was no way out of it because he was adapting a well-known musical.
My problem was with Eddie Redmayne, as with all things involving.
He's okay in the movie. Anne Hathaway was great.
Anne Hathaway was fantastic.
And Samantha Bark, I thought was amazing. I was really hoping she would get more recognition.
Fucking Eddie Redmayne. Goddamn Oscar winner. Anyway, so that was the King's Speech. I really just want to go watch The Social Network now. So we, concluding here, episode 79, episode 80 will be a break from our award season arc that we've been going through. Be visiting one of the movies that was a catalyst in this podcast being created. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, the Ben Stiller remake from 2012, I want to say, 2011 maybe.
Sounds right.
Was one of those that when we originally were conceptualizing this podcast, it was like, yeah, like Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's like 50% of that movie is fucking awesome. So I love that movie. So being negative about it will be quite difficult. I'm sure I can find a way, though. So that'll be for one of our every 10 episodes. We do our gray area episodes where we find one that's somewhere in the middle. Julio makes a case for it being good. I make the case for it being bad, vice versa, what have you. But then for episode 81, we will resume our award season arc, which will take us to
our last Razzie movie.
Okay.
Hudson Hawk.
Yes. I remember I requested this be put in here when we were making this list.
Some people threw Hudson Hawk at us, and I don't remember when it was, but somebody brought it up on Twitter. And at the time, I remember thinking, yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. And now the time has come.
The hour is at hand. So that's what's on the horizon. That was the King's Speech, closing as we do usually with plugs. We do want to give a thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. Opening is Last Stand, closing is Summer 99 from their album Don't Let Me Use You. We have our awesome logo.
Yes, from our friend Hans Rodriguez. He does logos, he does comics, he has a podcast called Nación Combi. It's in Spanish. So if you speak Spanish or you want to practice your Spanish, listen to his podcast. If you want comics or logo or just want to say hi, you can reach out to him on Twitter. He's at Mildemonios, MILDEMONIOS. And you can also email him at mildemonios@hotmail.com.
I don't really have much to plug this week. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I watched The Master last night. It had been a few years since I watched that, and that movie is just so fucking good. Like, to a ridiculous extent. I find something new to love about it each time, and also just looks great. Even just watching it on my TV, like the Blu-ray, I was like, fuck, this looks incredible. But, I mean, everything Joaquin does is great. So, but outside of that, no, I've been really busy, so I don't really have too much to plug. I will be very grateful when this weekend comes. My shoot job's been fucking killing me. So
I have a kind of an unusual plug, but before that, as we'll be doing every episode, I guess, until it happens, we're going to be part of the live stream for The Cure 3, 2019 edition. The Epic Film guys spearheading this thing for the third time, basically raising money for cancer research. They're going to live stream from Friday morning until Sunday afternoon. So the dates for that are from Friday, May 17th to Sunday, May 19th. And we will be on, like, our actual segment will be on Saturday the 18th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing a movie that will be disclosed closer to the event, but it's a good one. We'll be doing kind of a quick version, kind of like the Cam episode. We'll be doing it all in an hour. But anyway, it's going to be a really cool thing. And actually, literally, as we're recording this, I just got an email from Nick from the Epic Film guys with the promo. So I guess I'll insert the promo right here.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Justin, and we can't believe it's already time for the 2019 live stream for The Cure.
Thanks to our amazing peers, listeners, and supporters, last year we crushed our goal of $5,000 for the Cancer Research Institute.
The Cancer Research Institute is funding research into immunotherapy to create a future immune to all forms of cancer. Every single cent we raise goes to them.
And they're also rated over 92% on charitynavigator.org.
This year, we're aiming our sights even higher with our most ambitious event to date.
Join us May 17th through the 19th on twitch.tv/epicfilmguys for 40 hours of live content from us and other amazing shows who will join us to try to reach $7,500.
Please visit www.livestreamforthecure for more information or to find out how you can be a part of the event. Together, we can make a difference.
All right, so live stream for The Cure, 3rd edition. Be ready for that. Start, I figure if you put away like $5 a week, by the time the event rolls over, you have like a nice little chunk of money that you can donate for cancer research. And if you can do it during our segment, even better, because it makes us look cool.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so that's that. And then I also wanted to just kind of give you a preemptive plug for a future guest appearance. I recorded an episode, my second guest appearance on Beyond the Box Set. We talked about the movie Clue, the Tim Curry vehicle. I don't know if it's a vehicle, but they're doing a little arc on movies inspired by games, and Clue was their big finale. So I was very lucky that they invited me. It was a lot of fun. Should be out either this week or next week, but I'll put in the link if it's there. If not, I'll be bringing it up next episode. And finally, Alex, I don't know if you're aware of this. I put it on my Facebook, but I'm actually begrudgingly going to give Rotten Tomatoes a plug and a pat on the back.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting something about it. I didn't really know the context, though.
Basically, what they've done, and I could say what took you so long, is they prevented people from posting comments and reviews on movies that haven't come out yet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is, you would think it's common sense, but and they pissed off a lot of fucking idiotic internet trolls that were basically, what happened was there were a lot of user comments and reviews that were dragging down the tomato meter score for Captain Marvel, which hasn't come out yet. It's been screened for just some critics, and yet there was a bunch of trolls that were giving it low scores because, God forbid, we have a female superhero and a big screen. I don't know. I'm assuming there was something similar when Wonder Woman came out, or maybe when Wonder Woman came out, they were not taking it seriously, and then Wonder Woman happened, and now they were like, we don't want this again.
This is Trump getting the second term. Now they're taking it seriously.
Yeah. It's, how insecure do you have to be?
No shit.
And it's good on Rotten Tomatoes for putting some sort of stop to it. I'm sure it's not gonna change anybody's mind. If you're an asshole before they put in this ban, you're just gonna keep being an asshole after, but at least we don't have to deal with you right away. It was funny because earlier today, I saw somebody retweeted, the guys from Netflix and Chill, or Netflix and Swill, retweeted this tweet from some guy. Let me read it to you. So this guy in response to Rotten Tomatoes doing that, he tweeted, "I have officially canceled my ticket order for hashtag Captain Marvel in response to the change in hashtag Rotten Tomatoes website. I was going to take one for the team because it's the hashtag MCU, but hashtag Disney, you can kiss my white male ass." And then he included screenshots of his refunded ticket or whatever because, you know,
Showed them.
I don't know what. Yeah, exactly. And then what follows is just like a stream of responses that just burn him over and over, basically driving home the point of who gives a shit. Nobody cares. A bunch of gifs of Brie Larson laughing, and it just overall fun stuff. And then there is this response that is just fucking brutal. This guy says, "When my dad was your age, he fought in a war." Anyway, all this stemming from Rotten Tomatoes deciding to stop early reviews from people who haven't seen movies, which is great.
If that Captain Marvel movie does not end with Anna Paquin showing up and murdering Brie Larson, then I will understand people being mad.
Well, they got to save something for the sequel.
That's the only logical way it can end. Yeah, I'm sorry. That can be the second one.
But yeah, so good on you, Rotten Tomatoes. Let it not be said that for all the raging against the Rotten Tomatoes machine we do not acknowledge when they do something right.
We also got to give props when they're due. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good, because that shit's ridiculous. Like you said, it seems like it would be common sense, but... All right. So, that concludes the King's Speech. That concludes episode 79. My God, we're episode 80 on deck. Seems like it was just 79 episodes ago that we started doing this. So, in the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback, wearethecontrarians@gmail.com is always open. But like I said, hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. But that is going to do it for myself, Alex, and my co-host Julio for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
That summer of 1999, back when you blew my mind and told me secrets in the dark. I'm just fine. Thanks for asking. I just can't quite get by that time in 1999. How are you?
Oh, and before I forget, what I was going to say that we got off topic about, man, how good did Julia Roberts look? Like, her and Paul Rudd just do not age.
At this year's Oscars.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the King's Speech Oscars. I was like, I don't remember, man.
Okay.
I remember many things.
You remember? No, I don't know why she presented Best Picture, but I was like, man, she looks great.
Well, you might have noticed they didn't have a host. A host at the Oscars. So.
They didn't. And then everyone fucking going ape shit for Gaga and Bradley Cooper, just like eye fucking like crazy.
Love it.
Yeah. His girlfriend was just like trembling there.
I'm sure she was fine with it. Play it up.
Well, Gaga won an Oscar, so someone like my favorite tweet was like Gaga on her way to an EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, T fucking Bradley Cooper.
It was definitely one of the most intense moments in the ceremony. I loved the hell out of it.
Their performance is great.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, you haven't even seen the movie. No. It's worth watching for that moment when they sing that song in the movie. After that, you can probably turn it off and you'll be fine. But
gotcha. No, I only in this house we only acknowledge the Chris Christopherson, Barbra Streisand. Yeah. Anyway, Julia Roberts looked great. That's my plug. Good night.